So that's the thing that I wanted to let you all know in this episode. That was one of the things I was doing more research on and just looking into, just because, I definitely want to give you all the facts and things before, I mention it to you. But that is definitely a good crypto that I'm investing in that I think is good. Once again, it's called Mana or Decentraland. And it's an actual currency that you use in the Decentraland or virtual reality world to actually buy land there, to actually buy in goods, services, things of that nature. And when you think about this virtual reality, where it's headed, as I mentioned earlier, Nike is already looking into it, right? They already had a game plan starting up. Like I said, the blueprint was like around 2018. They started thinking about this virtual reality world. Other companies are also going to start thinking about it. Like I said earlier, recently, Facebook now looking into a metaverse. Once that becomes bigger, you start thinking about people actually getting invested into it. Excuse me. And like I said, over time, as Elon Musk was alluding to, that could potentially be the next big thing, right? Because people are always looking how to live longer, how to expand their life. Who doesn't want to expand their life? Some people, want to live forever, things of that nature, or leave memories back for people that come after them. That's another way to leave your actual blueprint, your actual self, with your loved ones if you're not going to be here, later on down the line in your life. So when you're looking into that, that has a potential to be the next big thing, and the next, differential thing from, hey, first started out on technology, getting internet, getting, phones, things of that nature. Now let's look at how technology can help and better our lives, right? And people have already been doing this, as you know, technology, like I said, is in everything. When you look at technologies in science, it's in health, it's in literally everything you can think of. Technology is involved in it, and it makes it, like I said, without that human error, and it makes it better. So with that being said, a lot of people are now going to be more attracted to it, and the more and more people, big name companies adopt it, the more it's going to be adopted as a whole in the world. So you want to definitely want to go ahead and get into some of these things that's you know aren't as big right now, but eventually will become big. Just like, if you look at Tesla when it first started out, it was not $1,000 stock when it first started out. And you being an early investor, you reap the benefits once it reaches that prime, that mountaintop that you're waiting for. So that's where I looked at Mana, and it made me think of that, because right now, a lot of people aren't. As I said, Facebook is mentioning the metaverse, and Nike talked about having a blueprint of that. And then you also have Tesla, not Tesla, Elon Musk, looking into, I think it's called Neuron or Neuralink, one of his companies that actually look into the brain, right? And in the interview that he was talking about it, he was saying how his actual company that he's partnered with, or he actually owns one or the other, is actually looking into doing things with the neurons in your brain, to help you actually process things better. So as the thing I mentioned earlier, as far as a computer can actually, think of answers quicker than you, find answers quicker than you. If you need an answer, you actually usually go on Google or something like that. Or if you want to add or multiply something, you usually use a calculator. What if you can actually have your brain do all that and install that into your brain? That would be something that people would look into, right? Because now people, you no longer have to worry about not knowing the answer, or it doesn't take you, 5 or 10, 15 minutes to figure out an answer or an ingredient in the actual recipe. It just clicks into your brain. You already know it. It makes that human error, that human delay, a lot shorter than it usually would be, and it's actually using technology to do that, right? And as he was alluding to earlier, technology will eventually take over because technology is in any and everything that you can think of. So with that being said, with technology and these virtual worlds taking over, me myself, I definitely want to get into Mana and get a lot of Mana before it actually takes off, right? And like I said, this Mana thing that I'm looking into is more of a down the road thing. I'm looking 5, 10, 15 years down the road. So for me, getting into it right now, getting into it light, getting into it about 25, 30% of the amount that I actually want to get into it. So let's say if I wanted to invest like $1,000, right? I will only put $300 into it right now. See how it goes over the next year or two, then invest more. If it drops more, if it goes up some, still doesn't mind. I don't mind averaging up because I have a price target set in my head that I want this to be at before I actually sell. So as long as it's not at that price target, I'm good to go. I can buy more. I'm fine. I'm below that price target. And once we reach that price target, of course, like I always say, take your profits, run. Don't worry about staying into it. Don't be the type that, you want to hold on just so you can get a little bit more. And that's when you end up losing all of it. But when you look at a crypto or something like that can actually, has a basis around it, and it's actually an Ethereum token. And Ethereum, as you know, everybody wants to be like Dogecoin wants to be an Ethereum token, right? They're aiming to get that type of status that Ethereum has, or like Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin and Ethereum are your two big coins. As you have Bitcoin, I believe it's like 60,000, 66,000, ranging between then, and then you have your Ethereum, ranges between $3,000, $4,000. Those are your two biggest coins. Those are your two biggest things that people want to look into. And then we look into Ethereum. They also use clean energy, so that's another appealing thing to governments and people of the world, because they're using clean energy versus they're not having to have to mine and use coal and burn bad coal to use those mining machines to find those like Bitcoin or something like that, or Dogecoin, if you can look at it in that case. So that was the thing I wanted to tell you all early in this episode. I know I did spend a lot of time, spent, I believe, 20 minutes on that, so I wanted to cut that short here. But on the next thing I want to talk about, just to end this episode, be about 5 minutes, I want to talk about these two stocks. One of them is Romeo Power. That one, I believe, is a good stock to look into. They make battery packs for electric vehicles. I believe the more and more electric vehicles are adopted, the more and more you're going to need these type of companies. So it's a good time, for me, when I'm looking into getting into stocks, it's a good time to get into it. I believe it IPO'd at around $10, $11. Right now, it's around like $4.30, $4.50. So that's something that I'm enjoying getting into. And I'm putting, a lot of my eggs into that, because that's one of the companies that I believe has a future with the EV world, expanding and exploding. I look at EV and I look at the .com era. I believe EV and .com era are the same. You see how things exploded once the internet actually got, published, and people are actually, everybody's, being adopting the internet. All those type of stocks and things exploded. That was invested and had something to do with the internet, right? So then when you look at EV, any company that has something to do with EV or helping bring EV to cities or states or countries, I believe they're going to have great potential to go up, as long as we haven't fully adopted it yet. Of course, once things are fully adopted, a lot of these players are going to shake out, and you're going to be left with your big name players. Just like you look at Walmart or anything like that, they all started out small, but then they actually got big and they shook out the rest of the competitors. Same thing's going to happen in the EV market, but I don't see that happen over the next, 2 to 3 years. So when you're looking into that, Romeo Power was one of the ones that I am excited about. Like I said, the IPO at around $10 around, and now it's like around $4. So I would think it'll at least get back to the IPO level with the hype. Within the next year, I believe it's definitely going to get back to that level. I know you all remember when I talked about Ford doubling back in April, May. I said Ford was going to double by the end of the year, and it was around $10 then. And then you look at Ford now, $19, $20 stock. And like I said, I believe it still has potential to grow even more. I believe that's more of a $30, $40, $50 stock when you compare it to GM. Same thing here in the EV world and with Romeo Power. If an IPO at around 10 and it had no revenue at this time, they just released their earnings after the bell today. So with that being said, I don't see nothing but up, green, clear skies for this actual stock, because I believe it's a good stock and it has the potential to be even better than where it IPO'd at around $10. So that's one of my long-term ones that I'm looking at, and that I'm building my portfolio, on that over time. For me, I always try to start out with at least 3,000-4,000 shares, and then work my way up. Like I said, that type of stock I've been in for a while now. It's been a lot longer than actually recently, but at the same time, it's at nearest bottom. So that's why I wanted to bring this all to you all's attention. Now that it's low, it's very low. It's cheaper than IPO that. It was cheaper than when I initially bought it in at. Of course, I averaged down just because, like I always say, if you believe in a stock, I wouldn't sell it. If it goes down, that's fine. I don't mind averaging down $1 or 50 cents. Now, if it drops $4 or $5, then of course you got to be smart, play it smart, get out of it. If you believe in it, get out of it and get back in it. But any stock that you believe in that drops, 50 cents to $1, there's no need to sell for a loss when you know it's going to eventually go back up. You just have to be patient and enjoy that ride that you're about to go on. And then with that being said, the next company I want you all to focus on is REE Automotive, REE Automotive. They are another EV type of company. They make electric stuff, electric vehicles type of deal. So I want you all to check that company out. Those two companies I think are great. I think they have a lot of room to grow, potential to double or triple in size in the next year or two. And like I always say, mark my words, definitely go back on this video in a year or two, just like with the Ford thing I said earlier. Always come back on this video in a year or two, and check and see, what I was talking about as far as doubling, tripling, because these type of companies, they have that value. They're in the right industry. The buzz is around this industry. The government is willing to put money in this type of industry. So all it takes is just news or a little rumor to go around, and you're going to see these stocks explode. And the EV industry as a whole, I believe, has a great potential to explode in the next year or two. Because like I said, I compared it to the dot-com era. And like I always say, when you do your research, the dot-com area, the area did blow, right? It went up, but it also dropped down. So just keep in mind, once you see these type of stocks go up, take your profits, be smart about it. Like I always say, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not here to tell you when to sell or when to buy a stock. But me personally, when things explode, I'm definitely trying to take my profits and get out of there and take some of my money out of there, at least 75 to 80% of what I have in there at the time. Take that out, take all my profits, and then play with the 20, 10%. As long as you do that, you'll never lose. You always come out on top. And that's the point, that I'm, into trading. I always want to win. I don't want to really lose too much. So that's how you reduce some of those, losing areas. And if you do lose, you're losing profit money, house money. So that's it for this episode. Once again, I want to reiterate Mana. That's a good one to get into. I see great things in the future. Not recent, not close future. Even though it's already up 200% in the past month or two since I got into it, I believe this can easily get up to $50 to $100 per coin or per token, whatever you want to call it. And then the final two stocks I want to talk about, Romeo Power, RMO is the ticker. That one I really enjoy. I really enjoy that stock because, like I said, it has great room to grow. And in IPO at $10, that means people bought into it at $10 when it first came out. And right now it's at $4. So, all those people that invest into it are definitely going to want that stock to go up, and they're going to try their best to push it back up. And then the final stock is REE Automotive. Same type of field as EV industry. Great company. I think they're one of the fresh and newer companies, so that's what I'm interested into them. Long term, I think they have a good, aspect long term. When I say long term, it's a lot shorter than Romeo Power. Romeo Power, I look at 5 to 10 years versus this was more 1 to 2 years. After that, I don't see them getting as far as big as some of these other EV companies that came out, like Lord Motors or Ride, if you want to call it that, or Tesla. I don't see them being that big, but I do see them being a player until the big players shake them out. As I mentioned earlier, they're one of the competitors in the EV market and not as big as some of these other companies. So eventually they will be shaken out or bought out, per se, I should say. So just keep that in mind when you're investing in these type of companies. Be cautious, take your profits, and be smart about it. Any comments or questions that you have, as I always say, drop a comment below. Thank you all for coming and watching this week. I'll definitely be back this Sunday with a new episode to get you all prepared for next week. But for this week, definitely look into those three things I mentioned: Mana, REE Automotive, and Romeo Power. You definitely have great success with those. Like I said, but any questions, comments you have, drop a comment below. Continue to share, continue to subscribe, and continue to come back and watch this great episode. Thank you and have a great day.